Dealers, the FTC is out for blood, and you could be next.
The FTC is planning a crackdown, though, on illegal tactics used by car dealers.
The FTC is cracking down on, quote, deceptive advertising at car dealerships across the country.
The agency just sent warning letters to nearly 100 dealership groups.
The letter contains a warning telling the dealerships they need to change their advertising and pricing practices unless they want the FTC to take further action against them.
Federal Trade Commission and the state of Maryland have reached a settlement. As part of the settlement, the company will return $75 million to affected customers.
We're all in it together. However, it seems only the dealer is getting fined, not the third-party lead provider, not the website developer, not the marketing company, not the social media person, the dealer.
Hey, this is Sean V. Bradley.
And Tiana Mick, also known as T Got Your Keys.
Of Dealer Synergy, and we just got back from Washington, D.C., our nation's capital, with CBT News' Auto Leadership Summit, because Miss Tiana Mick was just on stage, and it was an incredible event. So let me kind of get started, T, because you were the star of the show, for me at least, right? First of all, shout out to Jim and Bridget Fitzpatrick of CBT News for putting on the event. The whole event was based on the fact that the FTC is cracking down against the entire automotive sales industry. Dealers are on notice. They sent out 97 warning letters to the top dealer groups in the country because they're going after them. So Tiana, can you kind of shed some light on what is the FTC going after dealers for now and why?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, very simply, bottom line is whatever price you advertise is the price that the customer has to come in and buy. Now that includes documentation fees, any processing fees. It does not include any government, right, taxes, title, things like that. However, if you have paint protection, bed liner, all these different add-ons to the price, they have to be itemized, and you have to let all the customers made aware of it.
Yeah, and what's crazy is that during COVID, well, dealers were using addendums before COVID, whether it's Pinstripe, it was Permaseal, or any of that stuff. But then with COVID, dealers were selling cars at list or over list, and they started packing product in, these addendums. It's illegal to do so. You cannot turn around and pack all these different things and then tell a prospect that it comes with it. No, it doesn't. They don't have to buy it. Just because you equip your vehicles with all that stuff and just because you put an addendum doesn't mean that that's legally okay. Am I correct, Tiana?
Yeah, no, absolutely. You have to make sure everything is itemized and every customer is aware of all the products they are purchasing.
Transparency equals convenience. Convenience means you save time. Number one complaint for decades has been it takes too long to buy a car, so you can win if you make it more convenient. But remember, when you go to the grocery store versus the convenience store, how much do you pay for a gallon of milk? Why are you paying for more at the convenience store? To me, this can be a value add. It brings our trust. It's going to be a value builder in our industry that's going to help us.
And what's crazy is that, let's just say, for example, some dealers, what they'll do is they will not discuss this with the prospect until they get to the dealership, because they fear that if they let them know that there are addendums or that there are, certain things that they're itemizing before they get in, that dealers, prospects might not like that, and dealers fear that they might lose ups. They might not have enough people coming in. So they think, well, I could just disclose it when they come in. No, too late, you're done. Because if you bring somebody into your dealership with false pretenses, you can get sued. Am I correct?
I think one of the biggest misconceptions of all this, new rules, the all-in pricing, is that dealers are going to be losing money, and I think that's absolutely false. We know how many times has a customer came in with a price quote where we know when you go to that dealership, they're not going to give it to you for that much. And now we're cutting ourselves short with all these imaginary numbers, because we know even if they go to the dealer and we sold it to them for the same price, they're just going to stay at that dealer because they don't want to come back to us and say, hey, you were right. So I think this is going to give us all an equal playing field and have the opportunity to reset, right? Reset and actually look at car sales as sales, right? The value, not the negotiation, not trying to flip somebody once they get in. Sales is providing value and solving a problem. And we are creating more problems when we are not transparent. So this is just going to be better for everybody.
Every fine is equal to about $53,000. So if you get 19 fines, that equals to over $1 million. So that's your showroom sales, BDC rep, managers, social media posts, it's their emails, their text. All of these are now breadcrumbs and trails that our customers can screenshot, show it to management, and demand that price that they did disclose.
And it goes further than just not disclosing addendums and true transparency, but it also is if you're packing in discounts. So again, let's just say the vehicle is $30,000. Okay, but then you deduct $1,000 for military or first responder. Then you're backing out another $1,000 for college grad, and you're putting all these theoretical things, and you're saying, oh, the $30,000 vehicle is now only $26,000. And then somebody comes in thinking that they're going to buy a vehicle for $26,000, and they're going to say, "Oh, you didn't just graduate college? Well, that's another G. You're not, first responder, military. You can't do that. These are deceptive tactics that the FTC is cracking down. And am I correct with that as well?"
A huge issue was we're stacking incentives, we're adding things that not all customers qualify for, and then when they come in, we make them feel silly for thinking that they can get that price, when really it's our responsibility as dealers to educate them in the proper. So I've seen dealerships have disclaimers on their rebates and actually have, only until this day, you need to graduate after 6 months from, 2026. And from my perspective, and I've seen dealers already, they're not 100% compliant, but what they are leaning towards is instead of having all those incentives stacking together, it's just almost like an extra sales value point, like, oh, hey, are you also a GM owner? Here's a lease loyalty.
I mean, the bottom line is it's going to be better transparency for us dealers and our customers, because now us dealers, we don't have to undercut ourselves and try to fight imaginary numbers when a customer comes to us with a price quote. We know we can go to the dealership's website, take a look at what the car is actually being sold for, and understand that we could give them a better deal. Or the best part of this whole conversation that I got out of the conference is now we as dealers have to get better at selling our value.
First off, I think this entire, all-in pricing, everybody on the equal playing field, it's gonna get us back to actually selling cars. What social media does is it sells your value, bottom line, right? And what dealers should be doing now is getting ahead of the story before your competitors do. Because right or wrong, like you mentioned before, hey, we don't charge those dealers fees, come over here, right? Now you're able to actually educate your customers and say, hey, all of us dealers, we just got these new rules. And I, as a dealer, am gonna make you, as a consumer, aware of it, because then you look like the rock star, right?
There is such a value that we have to continue to push, which is the value of competitive pricing for dealerships. Be careful, do it right, but we can also offer discounts, and we can't let that go away. Because otherwise, we can become just like direct sellers.
Yeah.
Customer reviews, Sean, was one of the things that I wasn't aware of that the FTC was looking at since this conference. But yeah, the FTC is actually looking at your dealership reviews, seeing if any customer is making statements, hey, a price was advertised this, I came in and it was something else. That is actually now going to be under the FTC's radar, so you have to be made aware of that as well.
Yeah, no, and to be very clear, they discussed, well, first of all, let's just digress for a second. So in addition to T Got Your Keys being on stage, we had some of our industry titans. Besides CBT News, we had representation from NADA. There were some of the top CEOs from different companies, whether there were some third-party providers, CRM companies, data mining companies, marketing agencies, and there were even Senator Moreno from Ohio. So there was a diversity of automotive leadership there. We had dealers like Kevin Fry from Jeff Weiler Auto Group, Brian Benstock from Paragon, and so the collective was, man, the FTC has definitely got a target on the industry, and they're saying that these FTC agents and these FTC auditors are not just looking at online reviews, Tiana, but what's crazy is they're watching for commercials. They're looking for ads, and they're writing them down like Santa Claus. They're creating a naughty list, and then instead of just giving you some coal, they're giving you lawsuit.
Those third-party lead providers kind of stand at the crossroads of all of this, do they not? So talk to me about that. Are
we going to have to, in writing, indicate to them that they must be compliant, or
the vendors,
or we're going to take action against them?
That it's not just the dealer's responsibility, and I loved the other panels talking about the need to document. When you're talking to the third-party website and saying, look, you're not doing, you're not accurately putting the price of my vehicles up there. I don't have that vehicle anymore. We need more communication. Document these conversations.
Man, it is scary out there if you're not prepared. And that's what this whole thing was about. So before we get into what the protocol should be, I want to add one other thing, because one of the reasons why they brought you on there, I was so proud of you, Tiana, is that you represent the automotive front lines. You are one of the top sales professionals in the United States, especially with marketing and branding. And dealers, what you don't understand is that you can't hide behind any false facade any longer. If there's any employee, it doesn't matter if they're a lot attendant, if they are a salesperson, a BDC rep, a manager, anybody that works at your dealership, whatever they say on social media, TikTok, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, WhatsApp, Snapchat, you are 100% liable. And what really kind of hit home is when the attorneys, they had Laura she's from NJ Carr, the New Jersey State Dealer Association, and they were saying, which it shocked some dealers, but I knew it to be true beforehand, was that even if you fire an employee and go to the FTC, oh, Mr. FTC, Mr. Government, I'm so sorry, that person wasn't representing me, so I fired them. Like, okay, good, they're gone, but you still have to pay this $1 million lawsuit. Isn't that crazy?
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. So everybody's on the hook with this one. I, for one, think it is going to be beneficial for our industry. Number one, as I said, we're not going to be underselling ourselves anymore, because we are worth the price that we put out on our website. Absolutely.
Well, when it comes to social media and things like that, being very transparent with words, so same thing. So, hey, we're offering 0%, financing. Obviously, this is going to be for our tier 1 plus, right? There's words that you are going to have to say, little extra steps that we are going to have to take. But I don't want to discourage anybody in this room thinking, well, now I just don't want to advertise at all on social media. I'm just not going to touch it, because there's going to be dealers that are, and they're going to be getting your money.
And two, we're now all on the equal playing field, so the only thing that a customer can compare two dealerships to is their customer experience and their sales process and value. And I think in the automotive industry, we've gotten far from that as being the main objective. And I think now it's kind of like the FTC's ability to let all the dealers kind of wave a white flag and say, hey, guys, gals, let's stop, let's take a look. Do we want to continue doing business like this? Because listen, everybody loses, right? The guy that wins the customer for the cheapest price, they're the biggest loser, right?
And some dealers that I've spoken to said, well, we show them that we are up, we're on the up and up with all of our pricing. We include everything. That's the way we do it. You're not going to find that at other dealerships. They're going to do X, Y, and Z to you when you get in there. They're going to play games. We don't do that here. Well, that's if the customer's sitting in front of you. But everybody today shops online. And that's where they're going to make their initial decision as to which dealership they're going to go to. And if I knew one dealership has a Toyota Camry for $32,000 and the other dealership's got it for $30,000, where do you think I'm going to start my shopping? I'm going to go to the lower one, regardless of how they got there. So the dealer doesn't really get the opportunity to tell that story of them being a fair place to shop, right? And I think something's got to, that's why the importance is that everybody's got to be on the same page. Otherwise, this deal's not going to work.
And then what's crazy too, though, is that dealers, listen, especially dealers that I know, we have 4,500 rooftops. We represent, manufacturers. And I want to just let all of my clients and friends and industry allies understand this. Be careful.
Dealers need less vendors and more partners. And I hope that this moment provides a time where we get serious about collaboration. And as vendors in this community, we need to figure out ways where we can be helping the dealer at this time by collaboration. What is right versus what is wrong is something we've got to get a really strong look in the mirror as a community, as a category.
because the government is going after these dealers. And if you think that your competitors, your haters are not going to be snitching on you and try to get out of it, dealers are going to try to weasel out of these FTC, accountability lawsuits and all this stuff. And what they're going to try to do is what? Think about what the government does. Think about what the FBI does. Well, don't you think that your competitors, your haters, your people, vendors that you pissed off are going to try to expose you? So again, the good news is this: if you're not doing anything illegal, if you're not doing anything shady, you have nothing to worry about. So again, but a lot of dealers don't understand the law.
Just a reminder of the importance of training your teams. Yes, the dealership's name is, on the logo, on the sign, but if you don't have your team on board and trained, and that you have to be feeding them the proper tools, monthly or weekly or daily for success, because they need to know that it's your reputation and it's your business on the line. That's right.
So here's where we're excited. What Dealer Synergy is doing through Tiana is we're going to be creating a course, a free course on Bradley On Demand on understanding the FTC's guidance on compliancy, to be able to adhere to their fair pricing transparency and their full compliancy. Now, I know there's companies that are going to try to sell this or whatever. We're not trying to make money on the industry that has supported us and our family. We want to give back to you. So if there's any dealers that are confused, any general managers, any marketing managers, anybody out there that's not sure, please reach out. And Tiana, I got to tell you, there was only about 100 dealers at this event. Now, granted, there's a lot of powerful dealer groups that represented 500 stores, but 500 stores out of 18,000, that showed that this is not being spoken about enough. That's why Tiana and I are taking the time to be able to share this information with you all.
Yeah, absolutely. And as John said, right, if you have any questions or want clarity on anything, that is what we are here for, right? This whole FTC 97 letters, listen, we are here to understand it for you, so just come to us and we're going to help you out.
Now, what we're going to do is we're going to actually upload some of the recaps. We took some video footage at the conference. We took a ton of notes, and Tiana's going to be putting some articles, some best practices together, and she's going to finalize. She already started the course, but she's going to finalize the compliancy course, and she's going to start rolling it out.